Forgetfulness. Society calls it a flaw. Biology calls it a feature. You walk into a room and forget why, you blank on someone's name mid-sentence, you lose your keys 3 times before noon. Everyone acts like something's broken inside you. Nothing is broken. Your brain is running ancient code that kept your ancestors breathing when forgetting the right things meant surviving another day. Let's break down exactly what your forgetfulness was built to do. The forgetting filter. Why your brain deletes on purpose. Your brain processes 11 million bits of information every single second. 11 million. You consciously handle about 50 of those. Your brain isn't malfunctioning when it forgets. It's editing, ruthlessly, intelligently, on purpose. 50,000 years ago, your ancestors didn't need to remember every leaf on every tree they passed. They needed to remember where the predator was, where the water was, where the food was. Everything else was noise. The brain that remembered everything didn't survive. It froze, overloaded with useless data when a lion appeared. Decision speed dropped. Reaction time tanked. Dead. The brain that forgot strategically stayed sharp, kept critical information on top, buried the irrelevant, moved fast when it mattered. You descend from the forgetters, the ones who filtered, not the ones who remembered everything. Your forgetfulness isn't a bug in the system. It's the system working exactly as designed. Why? Forgetting bad memories. The emotional reset. You've been through things you can't fully remember anymore. Pain that faded. Embarrassment that blurred. Relationships that dissolved into vague impressions. People treat this like failure. Like you should hold on to every wound in perfect detail forever. Biology disagrees completely. Emotional memories stored at full intensity are crippling. The brain structure that processes fear, your amygdala, can lock traumatic events into permanent high-definition replay. When this system breaks and can't forget, you get PTSD, full sensory re-experiencing of the worst moments, unable to function, unable to move forward, paralyzed by perfect recall. Forgetting painful experiences isn't weakness, it's recovery infrastructure. 50,000 years ago, your ancestor got attacked by a predator and barely escaped. Brain flags, predators exist, stay alert near that territory. Filed, done. If the brain replayed that attack in full emotional detail every single day for years, your ancestor stopped hunting, stopped moving, starved, died. The ones who partially forgot the specific terror but retained the general lesson survived. They went back out. They kept hunting. They had children. You're one of those children. Your ability to let pain blur at the edges while keeping the core lesson is ancient emotional technology. You're not forgetting your past. You're surviving it. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. 1 Forgetting faces and names. The social triage system. You meet someone at a party. 3 days later, their name is completely gone. You see them again and panic. Here's what actually happened. Your brain ran a calculation. Threat level 0, future relevance unclear. Resource investment required to store and maintain significant. Decision, deprioritize. Your brain handles roughly 150 stable social relationships at once. That's the cognitive ceiling for tracking who owes you favors, who you can trust, who might betray you, who has useful skills, who shares your food with you. Beyond 150, the system degrades. Quality of tracking drops across all relationships. In a tribe of 50 people, you knew everyone's name. You needed to. Social structure was survival. Alliances meant protection. Betrayal meant death. In modern life, you encounter thousands of strangers who will never affect your survival once. Your brain correctly identifies most of them as irrelevant and refuses to allocate storage space. The people your brain forgets, they didn't register as critical to your survival. The people you remember, your brain flagged them as important, trusted, dangerous, useful, or deeply connected to you. Your social memory isn't failing. It's prioritizing with brutal efficiency, the same efficiency that kept tribal relationships tight and functional when those relationships meant life or death. Forgetting details. The big picture brain. You forget specifics constantly, the exact number, the precise date, the specific wording. But you remember the point, the feeling, the outcome, the pattern. This isn't memory failure. This is the highest order cognitive function your brain performs. Gist memory. Extracting the essential meaning while releasing the irrelevant wrapper around it. Early humans didn't need to remember that the water hole was exactly 4.7 kilometers northeast. They needed to remember, water is that direction, takes half a day to walk, sometimes lions are there in the afternoon. Pattern, direction, danger signal, estimated resource cost, stored, the exact measurement, irrelevant, forgotten, correctly. The brains that stored raw data like a hard drive couldn't make fast decisions. They got bogged down in specifics when the situation demanded pattern recognition. Your brain skips to the conclusion, extracts the rule from the example, then deletes the example. That's not forgetfulness. That's wisdom infrastructure. The ability to learn without being buried in the raw material of learning. Every time you forget the details but remember the lesson, your brain is doing exactly what millions of years of selection pressure optimized it to do. Forgetting to hold grudges. The alliance maintenance system. Someone wrongs you, you stay angry for a while, then it fades, you move on. People call this being a pushover. Biology calls this advanced social engineering. Permanent grudge holding is metabolically expensive. The brain loops the offense, rehearses confrontations, maintains elevated stress hormones, keeps the threat system activated long after the threat is gone. Chronic stress destroys immune function, kills sleep quality, degrades decision-making, shortens life. In small tribes where you couldn't leave and couldn't avoid the person who wronged you, permanent grudge holding meant permanent social warfare inside your own survival unit. That destroyed groups from the inside. Groups that collapsed from internal conflict got picked off by everything outside. The people who could partially forget offenses, downgrade them from catastrophic to manageable, maintained functional relationships inside the tribe, kept alliances intact, kept the group cohesive, survived better. Your ability to forget grievances isn't weakness, it's social glue technology. The same technology that held human groups together when group cohesion was the difference between life and death. You're not weak for letting it go. You're running ancient code that kept your ancestors from destroying the only safety net they had. Forgetting irrelevant fears. The courage generator. You feared things that never happened. Stressed about outcomes that never materialized. Then eventually, mercifully, you forgot most of them. Anxiety systems in the brain are intentionally biased toward overproduction. Better to fear 50 things that never happen than miss the one thing that kills you. The brain generates excess fear as a survival margin. But excess fear that never resolves and never gets forgotten becomes generalized anxiety disorder. Constant threat activation with no specific threat. Your body spending all its resources on an emergency that doesn't exist. Unable to act, unable to take risks, unable to function. Forgetting resolved fears is the system clearing completed threat files. Danger past, lesson retained if relevant. Fear response archived, resources freed up for the next real threat. Your ancestors who forgot that they'd been afraid of the shadow in the bushes that turned out to be wind could go back to the bushes when they needed food. The ones who couldn't forget that fear starved near perfectly good hunting grounds. Every fear you've eventually let go of freed up cognitive and physical resources for actual living. Your brain knew the crisis was over. It cleared the file. That's not weakness, that's efficient threat management. If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. Forgetting sleep, the creative chaos system. You forget what you were about to say. You lose the thread mid-thought. Ideas appear randomly from nowhere and then vanish. Your brain during wakeful forgetting is doing something extraordinary. It's making connections that linear perfect recall would never allow. Memory consolidation during sleep actively reorganizes information, weakens some connections, strengthens others, merges unrelated pieces into new patterns. This process requires letting go of rigid information structures. The moments of forgetting, the tip of the tongue experiences, the lost words, these often precede unexpected insight. Your brain is searching non-linearly, crossing categories, finding solutions outside the obvious path. Strict, perfect memory is associatively narrow. You follow the chain, link to link, predictable, rigid. People with hyperthymesia, the rare condition of perfect autobiographical memory, often report difficulty imagining alternative outcomes. The past is too precisely present. It crowds out creative space. Your forgetting creates room, loosens the structure enough for unexpected combinations to form. The idea that comes from nowhere, it came from everywhere your perfect memory would never have connected. Forgetfulness is the architecture of creativity, the gaps where new thinking lives. What it all means. Modern society built itself around perfect recall and punishes deviation from it. Tests demand exact answers. Workplaces demand precise retention. Productivity culture treats forgetting as failure. But strip away modern demands and look at what forgetting actually does. It filters 11 million bits down to what matters. It releases pain so you can keep moving. It prioritizes relationships that actually affect your survival. It extracts patterns from experiences and discards the unnecessary raw material. It maintains social bonds by letting grievances fade. It clears resolved fears so courage can return. It creates the cognitive flexibility that generates new ideas. None of that is malfunction. Every single one of those processes kept your ancestors alive through conditions that would kill most modern humans in weeks. Emotional rigidity, analysis paralysis, social fragmentation, fear paralysis, creative limitation. These killed people. Forgetting prevented all of it. Your forgetfulness is not your enemy. It's one of the most sophisticated information management systems ever produced by 3 billion years of biological trial and error. The brains that remembered everything are not your ancestors. The brains that forgot the right things at the right times are. You carry that inheritance in every tip of the tongue moment, every blurred, painful memory, every face you can't quite place. That's not failure coded into your neurons, that's survival coded into them. You forgot where you put your keys this morning. Your brain was too busy running ancient software that kept your entire bloodline alive. Give it some credit. Thank you for watching. For more detailed historical breakdowns, check out the other videos on your screen now, and don't forget to subscribe.